So how do we apply what we just learned about solving quadratics using the square root to real-world scenarios? Well, let's take a look at this problem here. A storage container has the shape of a rectangular prism. Its height is 6 feet. Its length is 2 times its width. The volume is 288 cubic feet. Find the length and width of the container. So, well, what do we know about this problem? So the problem is about a storage container with a given volume, right? And the given important information are the height, the relationship between the length and the width, the actual volume is also given. And what we want to know is the length and width of the container. So how are we going to do it? Well, let's start with something that we know. So according to the problem, the volume is 288 feet. So let's write an equation about that. So we know that the volume of the storage container is 288. Now, how do we find the volume of a rectangular prism? We know that the volume is equal to length times width times height. So I replace the variable v for volume by another expression that it's equivalent to length times width times height. Now we know the height is 6. The length is 2 times the width. So that means I can replace L with 2W. W is the width, and the height is 6 feet. So that's equal to 288. Now, if we simplify further, 2 times 6 is equal to 12. And then W times W is equal to W squared. So far we have 12W squared is equal to 288. Now let me rewrite that equation here so we'll have more space. So if we divide both sides by 12, we'll get W squared is equal to 24, right? So now we can use the square root method because the squared term, which is W, is now isolated. So if we get the square root of both sides, we'll have W is equal to plus or minus the square root of 24. So now we can try to approximate that. Or if you want, you can also use what you learned about simplifying radicals in lesson 9.1. So we know that 24 is actually the same as square root of 4 times square root of 6, right? So that means we can rewrite this as plus or minus the square root of 4 is 2, and then radical 6 stays inside the radical sign. So W is plus or minus 2 radical 6. However, since we are looking at a real life scenario, we're only going to take the positive square root. So that means the width is equal to 2 radical 6, and the length is 2 times that, so it will become 4 radical 6. You can also change these to decimals if you prefer writing the final answers and rounding up to the nearest tenths. So that's an example of application of solving quadratic equations by square roots.